Good afternoon, and welcome to the City Club of Portland, Oregon's premier citizens forum. I'm Don Williams, president of City Club. Our topic today is challenges and opportunities in East Multnomah County. Our speakers are Gresham Mayor Shane Bemis, Travis Stovall, president of the Stovall Group, and Jean DeMaster, executive director of Human Solutions. For the benefit of our radio and television audiences, please turn off your cell phones and other electronic devices that tend to break into song at inopportune moments. First, a few announcements. Join us next Friday when our speaker will be Jack McGowan, Executive Director of Solve. His topic, Building Community Through Volunteer Action. Join us to hear Jack's view from 18 years in the trenches and on the beaches. Also, check your City Club bulletin. There's a number of interesting events that are coming up. First, on Monday, February 11th, join Mercy Corps CEO Neil Kenny Geyer at the inaugural Bright Lights City Design Discussion Series. Mercy Corps is building a new headquarters building in Portland, and its 150-person local staff guides 3,400 employees in 40 different countries. They provide relief for victims of war, natural disasters, and entrenched poverty. Doors open at 5:30. The discussion starts at 6, and it's at Jimmy Mac's Jazz Club in the Pearl District. Admission for that event is free. The New Leaders Council continues to amaze us with a variety of activities that they are involved in and sponsor. They're going to have a walking tour and a preview of the galleries in the Portland, in the Pearl District and Old Town. On Wednesday, February 6th at 5:30, the group will gather in the lobby at the Girding Theater and then head to the Museum of Contemporary Craft for a tour. After visiting several galleries, there will be a final stop at the Oregon Jewish Museum where they'll have a discussion with the executive director. Admission is free, and if you're interested, RSVP to Kim at the City Club office, or you can register online. We have one new member today, Susan Elliott, who is a consultant to nonprofit organizations and a transplant from Denver, Colorado. Susan, welcome to City Club. We wouldn't be able to have these great Friday forums without the support and generosity of our corporate sponsors, and please join me in thanking our sponsors this quarter, the law firm of McEwen Gisvold LLP and Edelman Public Relations. Thank you, sponsors. The East County. One of the first questions to ask regarding this topic is exactly what communities in the East County comprises and what are its boundaries. In fact, newspaper headlines provide different labels to the general geographic area we will discuss today, including East County, East Portland, East Metro, and Outer East Portland. Our speakers today will not only inform us what areas are encompassed, but about the challenges and opportunities it faces. Last week, Multnomah County Chair Ted Wheeler made multiple reference to the east part of the county. And he stated that as the population moves eastward from the central city, the amount of poverty increases, but the level of services does not show a corresponding rise. What specific strains is rapid growth placing upon schools and social service agencies? We've also read about complex growth, transportation, and public safety problems facing East County. And of course, the picture isn't complete without considering the significant economic potential of this area. What business development strategies are underway in East County? Shane Bemis served on the Gresham City Council for 5 years, including 3 of those as council president. In 2006, he was elected mayor of Gresham. At the age of 34, he became the youngest mayor to serve the city of Gresham, which is Oregon's 4th largest city. At the age of 27, he started his first restaurant, and he now owns 3 establishments which employ about 50 people. He worked hard to make these successful, and it's even rumored that he slept on top of a walk-in freezer at his first pizza parlor. In 2007, the Portland Business Journal honored Mayor Bemis as one of the region's 40 Under 40 award recipients. He's a member of the board of the East Metro Economic Alliance, and you'll hear more about that organization in a little bit. Mayor Bemis also serves on the board for the Regional Organized Crime and Narcotics Task Force. Even though he's a young man, Shane is rumored to have a passion for songs by Neil Diamond and Elvis Presley. I'll introduce Travis and Jean after Shane is done speaking. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Bemis.
I've made a note to make sure and check the introductions next time they go out, next time we do one of these events. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the City Club today. I really appreciate it. I had the opportunity to hang out with your new Leaders Council a couple weeks ago and really enjoyed the time that we spent together. And if the leadership I see there is any indication of where your club is going and what's coming up, I think you'll be well served. I'm very honored to be here today to discuss issues of relevance to East County and to also give you an update on what is going on in my hometown of Gresham. But before I get to the details, let me introduce you to a very important part of our greater metro region. Let me tell you about a place that, according to population experts, will get its 100,000th citizen tomorrow, solidifying its post as Oregon's fourth largest city. Let me tell you about a place that's home to teachers, counselors, and school administrators who regularly win state and national awards, and is home to the only school district in the nation to win the EPA's Energy Partner Award in 2006. Let me tell you about a place that's home to two major international semiconductor companies and is also home to one of the world's largest aerospace manufacturing companies. And let me tell you about a community where people have not outgrown the teddy bear parade and still consider themselves to be from a small town just east of Portland. Let me tell you about a place that occasionally votes for Republicans and is proud to host the Mount Hood Festival of Jazz every year and has set a goal for building the Center for the Arts. Let me tell you about a place that has one of the best main streets in the state, complete with family businesses where people still bump into their friends and acquaintances while shopping, and it's not unusual to bump into a city councilor, a police chief, or a community leader on the sidewalk or in a cafe. Let me tell you about a place that has bike trails running north, south, east, and west, public places, parks, and trails that run into Portland, a place with protected buttes boasting beautiful open spaces and public vistas. Let me tell you about a place that's 26 square miles, 103 years old, and a population 25 times larger than it was midway through the last century. This is the place where I grew up. A place where a Rotary member will introduce somebody who is struggling to pay for heating oil, and where the community will open up their wallets right there and then to get them through the winter. Now, I'm not here to tell you that Gresham is Mayberry and that it doesn't have its share of challenges, because it does. But I will tell you that it's a great place to live, work, and raise a family. I can't tell you how excited I am to be here today to talk about my hometown. Let me give you a quick update on what we've done in the past year and what I think the important issues are for this next year. I bet that most people in this room have heard of Rockwood. It's one of the most challenged areas in our city. But in my mind, it is also one of the best places in the region with the most character and potential to be a very special place. Gresham voters approved an urban renewal district for Rockwood a few years ago, and we are off to a very promising start. The Urban Renewal Agency is the proud owner of a 6.5-acre site in the heart of Rockwood, and we are currently in the middle of a very promising process to redevelop this site. This cultural marketplace site will provide housing options, increase retail availability, and provide a place for markets and festivals. In addition to the cultural marketplace and development, our Urban Renewal Agency has given $344,000 in industrial grants, and we've leveraged $19 million in private investment in the district, which will create 172 new jobs. Of course, livability in Gresham extends far beyond issues in Rockwood. Our historic downtown is vibrant It's home to several mixed-use condominium retail developments, which are helping us to develop a very attractive urban form. We've also made great strides in fostering creative capacity, approving funding for a public plaza at the future home of the Center for the Arts. On the environmental front, we've had some significant accomplishments as well. I mentioned the 6.5-acre cultural marketplace site earlier. We are very proud that we used green deconstruction techniques to remove and recycle over 92% of the old Fred Meyer building that sat on the site. In addition, I signed the Mayor's Climate Protection Pledge a year ago, committing the city to pursue the principles outlined in the Kyoto Protocol. Also last year, we introduced a backyard burn ban ordinance, enhanced our residential recycling through the use of commingled roll carts, helped protect Darby Ridge, one of the most pristine open spaces in the region with expansive views of Mount Hood, Mount Adams, Mount St. Helens, and the Columbia River Gorge. And we installed the Northwest's first smart traffic signal system along one of our busiest streets, which synchronizes traffic signals and decreases idle times and exhaust emissions from vehicles. Also, on the livability front, you may have seen some of the recent news articles about our housing habitability program. Gresham has a huge stock of rental properties, which come with it their benefits and their challenges. As a benefit, we have some of the most affordable market rate housing in the region. Unfortunately, a small minority of the property owners think that it is okay to have tenants living in slum conditions and that it's okay to bring the rest of the community down with them. We have created a program that gives access to inspect our rental units and will help us ensure basic living conditions for our citizens. We went from having no way to monitor these issues to creating one of the most aggressive programs in the state, and I'm very proud of that. There's no reason why profiteering slumlords playing golf in Palm Springs should get away with putting Gresham residents in inhumane living conditions. There is no way that we will let them turn our city into a ghetto, period. There is no question that life is good in Gresham, but there's also no question that change is on the move. A quick glance at the Regional Equity Atlas tells us that most forms of poverty are moving east, and they're doing it fast. In addition, we have over 119 gangs in our area and have grown from a quintessential suburban community into a major metropolitan area with all big city challenges that come with our new status. On the public safety front, we have cause for both concern and optimism. I doubt that there is a citizen left in Gresham who is not aware that public safety is my top priority as mayor. The safety and security of our families and property is the bedrock of Gresham's livability, and I am very aware of the responsibility as elected officials and community leaders to own this issue and demonstrate responsible stewardship. It has been about a year since I took office, but the conversations that I had during the campaign are still implanted in my mind. Longtime residents are concerned about crime and a shift in the community that they have known and loved for years. I promised to convene a public safety summit and work to identify the community's call to action around the issue. We held that summit last March, pulling together our regional law enforcement stakeholders and over 100 concerned members of our community. The summit was the launching pad for a citizen task force that met for the following 7 months, studied our issues with crime in great detail, and recommended that the council put a police levy on the ballot in November. The citizens on the task force told us that as we grew from a small town to a big city police department, staffing didn't keep up, and that it was time to boost the ranks. Council has signaled a desire to proceed, and the campaign is now underway. We have certainly seen an increase in crime accompanying the demographic shifts that have been a reality in East County. However, I am very confident that we have the tools at hand and the potential to reverse the trends in the near future. It is our community's resounding call to action, and I am optimistic about where we're going with these issues. I am sure that many of you have probably seen our recent advocacy as it relates to light rail. I want to be clear. I have said from day one that the MAX is a fantastic community amenity used by thousands of our residents every day. We just want it to be safe for them. After hearing repeatedly and loudly from our citizens, we studied the issue. We learned that 84% of our gang calls, 41% of our drug cases, 40% of our fight calls, and 40% of our robbery calls all happen within a quarter mile of a light rail platform. We also learned that in 2006, TriMet wrote less than 4 skipped fare citations a day within the city of Gresham. The year prior, there was less than one skip fare citation a day in Gresham. Now, I'm a pretty trusting guy, but I've got to believe that there were a few more people than that taking a free ride on Max. With the situation threatening to get out of hand, we made the tough decision to put our Gresham officers on TriMet. Let me tell you what our officers have come up with so far. They've accomplished in the past 2 months. They've made contact with 3,680 riders in Gresham. They've made 26 felony arrests, 65 misdemeanor arrests, have written 30 citations, and have excluded 375 people who were trying to take a free ride. For the last 2 months, our Gresham police officers working the detail have written over 30% of all exclusions on the entire system, 2 officers. None of these issues we face are any different than those experienced in other cities or have gone through similar growth patterns. The good news is that we have a lot of positive momentum and an actively engaged community committed to moving forward together. I'm excited for the challenges and opportunities in the year ahead. It's an exciting time in Gresham, and there's no shortage of places to devote our time and attention. Simply put, I love our community, and I think we have great hope for optimism for where we are heading. Before I surrender the microphone today, I do want to make one challenge to everybody in this room. If you haven't been out to Gresham in a while, make it your 2008 resolution. Give us a try. Come enjoy our bike trails, our open spaces, our shopping, our farmers market, our award-winning regional center. Come to our historic downtown, or one of the many festivals or jazz festival that we have in the summertime. You'll be glad you did. Thank you for the time today. Appreciate it.
Travis Stovall is managing partner of the Stovall Group. It's a consulting firm which specializes in startup businesses and companies looking to grow and reorganize. His group also advises nonprofits and medical practices. Prior to forming his consulting firm, he worked in healthcare administration. Travis is also the executive director of the East Metro Economic Alliance. Even though he's lived in Oregon for about 7 years, like many Oregonians, Mr. Stovall has Midwest roots. He was born in Kansas and graduated with honors in business administration at Union College in Lincoln, Nebraska. He then went on to get his MBA at the University of Nebraska. His financial savvy became apparent when he was still a student, when his gains in the stock market helped, in fact, paid for his college tuition. He refused to give us stock tips at the table during lunch, but that's another story. He has extensive civic involvement, including his current service as president of the Gresham Chamber of Commerce, and he's also a member of the Mount Hood Community College Foundation. His passion is flying, and he's piloted 9 different aircrafts. Travis?
Good afternoon. Buy low, sell high. That's the extent of my stock tip today. Buy low, sell high. You know, Mayor Bemis said that on any given day you could probably bump into a city councilor or even the mayor just going downtown Gresham. Well, I did that the other day, and all they wanted was my driver's license and my registration and my insurance card. It was just a little scratch. I don't know why he was so angry about that. Now, there's a little story that I tell, usually when I get up to give a little bit of a talk, and the story goes like this. I'm sure it wasn't too different from a group like yourself, and there was a young person who got up to give a presentation. And as he started, there was a man in the middle of the room who stood up and said, "This is the most boring presentation I have ever heard." And he sat down. And the young man was kind of jolted, but he kept going. Fortitude. But 10 more minutes down the road, the guy stands up again and said, "This is the most boring presentation I have ever heard." And he sits back down. Still, he continued, shortened his speech a little further, but just before he finished, he stood up one more time and he says, this is absolutely the most boring presentation I have ever heard." Kind of discouraged and disappointed, he moves to the back of the room to kind of do the receiving thing, and he was standing to the person who had helped put this meeting together, and he was just beaming. The guy was beaming. And the guy goes, well, I thought I did a good job, but that guy who kept standing up in the middle of the room, I'm just discouraged by that. And the guy leans over to him and he said, yeah, he does that to everybody. He does that to everybody. And he says, well, so why are you so happy? He says, because this is the first time he's ever been right. So let's hope that's not the case today. I really am happy to see Carla Pelusa in the crowd. She's the chief of police out in Gresham, and I can really consider her my personal bodyguard. So thank you for coming, Carla, keeping me safe. And I do want to point out our president, East Metro Economic Alliance, president of our board, Casey Ryan, has come out. So we greatly appreciate seeing you and a lot of the other friendly faces in the crowd. East Metro Economic Alliance. A lot of people say, well, what does that stand for? Or what does that signify? We like to define East Metro as the area east of 205, south of the Columbia River, and our eastern edges they can go a little further. Sometimes we like to talk about it in regards to places like Corbett and the Cascade Locks to make sure that we're talking about them also when we're talking about economic development within Multnomah County. Then we go south to the Clackamas line. So that's when I'm talking about East Metro Economic Alliance, that's what I'm talking about. Our focus is shaping the future of East Metro through economic advocacy. So that's what we do on a daily basis. And it's a collection of the 4 cities that exist out in East County in regards to Wood Village, Fairview, Troutdale, and the city of Gresham. And if any of you have followed the interplay between those 4 cities, you sometimes know some of the challenges that exist as one city does something for economic development, and it sometimes can affect another city pretty directly. And East Metro Economic Alliance was formed to have a good conversation because business doesn't stop at city lines. Business can cross city lines very easily, and it's that interplay with the different cities and the economic development that occurs is why East Metro Economic was brought together. So it includes the 4 cities, and the 4 mayors are on our board, and then we have roughly about 25 to 27 businesses that come together and have the opportunity to have that direct access with city councilors and the mayors to look at responsible development. So East Metro helps coordinate economic development efforts, build consensus among multiple jurisdictions, and offers a united voice and advocate for the region at the local, state, and national levels. That's what East Metro Economic Alliance does. I wanted to give you a little bit of that background so that you understood kind of the perspective of where I'm coming from. I'm going to be talking more about the economic development opportunities and the things that are going on out in East County, or in the East Metro area, that are very, very exciting. Now, you heard me say all the way over to 205. East Portland Chamber of Commerce is also a member of East Metro Economic Alliance, and we deal with a lot of things that go on kind of east of 205 in regards to, as we're talking with Multnomah County, and trying to look at things that are challenges that exist out there. If you ask me some of the major things that we've been able to work on this year, how many of you go up to Mount Hood very often, do a little skiing? Excellent. If you didn't raise your hand, you should get up there more often. If you did raise your hand, you still should get up there more often, because you go through Gresham, and I own the gas station. No, I'm just kidding. The key thing, one of the big things that we worked on this year, and thanks to Mayor Bemis, was to look at the issue of transportation in regards to what we call the North-South Connector. Some of you, as you know, as you go from I-84 down to 26, it sometimes can be challenging to get a direct route. How many of you know the truck route through, to get from 84 to 26, the actual natural truck route actually comes down 181st, turns left onto Burnside. Does anybody know what's right there on Burnside? The Max Track. The Max Track is right in the middle of that left-hand turn, and try and get an 18-wheeler around that corner to go up Burnside out to 26. And we were able to work with the 4 cities to get a memorandum of understanding signed by all 4 mayors and city councilors supported to take a good hard look at making sure that we figure out a way to effectively get from I-84 down to 26. North-South Connector. A lot of other things we've been able to work on and be very successful at. That's just one of those things that we really, really are excited about. Some of the things about East Metro area that are exciting as we look at opportunities that exist there. We've got access to two major interstates, I-205, I-84. We've got proximity to PDX and Troutdale airports. I'm a pilot, and so Troutdale is very near and dear to me. I enjoy flying. If you've never been up in a small aircraft, give me a call. I won't give you my cell number as I look at all the people in the room because that could take a while. But certainly, look me up. I love to take people up for a flight. Down the gorge is gorgeous. But Troutdale Airport is a great opportunity that exists out in East County and in East Metro. We've got rail access, Columbia River frontage, home to the majority of the remaining developable industrial lands that exist in Multnomah County. Some of those key things. Quality of life. We have Mount Hood Community College, which serves a population of over 300,000. We've got the Center for Advanced Learning. If you've never seen that facility, it's world class. These young people have the opportunity to go as high school students and study dentistry hands-on, study computer networking ways that we can't even imagine. They were doing things that I can't even describe in regards to metals work. Right there in Gresham Station at the Center for Advanced Learning. Abundant parks and green spaces and trails and wetland areas. We're close to Mount Hood. Again, it's very near and dear to my heart. I was just up skiing not too long ago. The snow's great. Can't give you enough about that. Some significant recent commercial developments that exist are Gresham Station and Civic Neighborhood. I actually live in Gresham Station and Civic Neighborhood. Wood Village Town Center. We've got the Fairview Center. Fairview Village, global high-tech companies that exist out in Gresham, which a lot of people may not know about. We have Boeing. We have NICO Materials Handling, Microchip on Semiconductor, Boyd's Coffee, and Weyerhaeuser. Some of the things, as we look at 2008 and beyond and the strategies that exist, we've got some amazing enterprise zones in Gresham that were established in 2006, has resulted in over $100 million in expansions by Boeing and R.R. Donnelly, creating more than 200 new additional jobs. Columbia Cascade Enterprise Zone, which incorporates the Columbia Cascade River District, which is, in my book, a tabula rasa. The opportunity to have this blank tablet. This area is defined as about 181st to the Sandy River, so those are the west and east boundaries, the Columbia River down to I-84, and we call that Columbia Cascade River District. It's been amazing how the four cities, again, have come together to develop a plan for that tremendous area that we're going to see develop over the next, probably the next decade. It was established, the Columbia Cascade Enterprise Zone was established in 2007 as a joint effort between Troutdale and Fairview, 1,500 acres, including several commercial sites and the largest industrial zone site remaining within the urban growth boundary. FedEx Ground is finalizing a purchase of 78 acres to build a 425,000 square foot distribution center in Troutdale, which will create 334 new jobs. The Owens Corning Company is finishing its 50,000 square foot plant, which will bring another 35 new jobs. The Townsend Business Park, 110 acres of industrial and commercial sites in Fairview, certified project ready. Knight Transportation and Thermo King Northwest have moved there in the past 3 years, bringing nearly 300 new jobs with them. Wood Village Town Center attracting major national retailers. And Wood Village also recruiting a manufacturing firm that could use the clean rooms and other improvements to the 90,000 square foot facility that was just recently said that it's going to be vacated by Merrick's. How do we promote sustainability? Spring water is another key area, 12,000 acres, a 12,000 acre area southeast of Gresham along US 25, brought into the urban growth boundary in 2002. Gresham has created a 20-year vision for this area. Potential for 15,000 living wage jobs in high-tech and R&D industries, software, nanotechnology, biotech, low-density residential, and commitment to sustainable development. And if you ever hear me talk, one of the things that I always mention is that we don't grow just for the sake of growth. We grow with a concept of responsible development in mind. Gresham is receiving numerous inquiries from national and international solar and renewable energy companies. And the commitment to urban renewal is alive and well in Rockwood, as you've heard Mayor Bemis talking about, improving the quality of housing, attracting employers who provide better paying jobs, And Troutdale is a really key site these days for urban renewal. They have this riverfront renewal going on. I've seen some of the plans. It's an amazing opportunity to see that area grow and develop. I believe it was I don't know if it was Gresham Outlook that I just recently read about some new development that's going on there, and some new developers who are putting forth some new plans for some redevelopment that could really generate some excitement right there in Troutdale. 20 acres of sandy river frontage in the town center. It's kind of right behind where the current outlet stores are. Targeting a cornerstone mixed-use development is what's the focus there. East Metro possesses great economic development potential, wealth of developable lands, prime access to multimodal transportation, excellent quality of life, and city government and advocacy groups such as East Metro Economic Alliance, eager to partner with companies looking to expand and relocate to the area. Current strategies are certainly paying off, targeting employers in the industrial sectors who provide living wage jobs, promoting sustainability, commitment to urban renewal. East Metro is becoming an important player in this regional economy, and I hope that I've been able to convey some of the tremendous opportunities that exist in the East Metro area. And of course, East Metro Economic Alliance can certainly supply more information and additional information if there are certainly any more questions, and if we can put you in touch with anybody that you would have an interest in, certainly let us know. Thank you.
If anybody can be called a veterans homeless advocate, it's Jean DeMaster. Her career in social services spans 35 years, and she's passionate about her work. As evidence, last October she received the Gretchen Kafori Award for Outstanding Lifetime Achievement. Like Travis, Jean is from the Midwest. She was born in a small Wisconsin town and earned both her undergraduate and master's degree in psychology at the University of Wisconsin. She then finished her education with a master's degree in clinical psychology at the University of Minnesota. She worked for 11 years as director of transition projects, and this is an agency that services include an Old Town shelter for single men and the YWCA, which provides shelter for women. For the last 3.5 years, she's served as executive director of Human Solutions. Her agency serves East Portland and Mid-Multnomah County. The agency's mission is to help low-income and homeless families and individuals become self-sufficient. Under Jean's leadership, Human Solutions has grown into one of East County's largest charities, serving about 6,000 households a year. Besides serving the homeless, she's passionate about gardening and even tries to grow orchids. Jean?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. East County. When we're generally talking about East County, we're describing an area, as Travis was talking about, that starts at about 82nd Street and then goes eastward through Portland, through Gresham, Troutdale, Fairview, Wood Village, Cascade Locks, through a number of unincorporated areas till you get all the way out to the Hood River County line. On the north-south dimensions, we're talking about the Columbia River on the north, going down to the Clackamas County line on the south. What most people don't realize is that that area that I've just described is about 200 square miles, and it's all in Multnomah County. When we talk about services to people in Multnomah County, we're talking about services to people that are generally disenfranchised from the mainstream services in the Portland area. Because in the minds of many people, and I'm going to use the kind of phrase, Portlanders who live close in, that was described in the City Club material, but in the mind of many Portlanders who live close in, something happens at that 82nd Street boundary. Maybe it's some kind of a great stone wall, or maybe it's a moat that we haven't seen, or maybe the world ends at 82nd. I don't know, but I do know that people will not cross 82nd and come out to East County. Now, the reason why this is important is because as we separate any area of our community and of our region, we limit ourselves and we limit the potential richness of our community. We all know about the redlining that the banks used to do. Well, 82nd Avenue is kind of that red line for East Multnomah County. We had a donor that called Human Solutions and wanted to give a donation of clothing that was going to go to our employment and training program. And the donor, we said, bring it out. Our program is on 99th and Gleason. That is in the city of Portland. We said, just bring it out. We're open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Bring it on out. And the donor said, oh, I can't. I can't go beyond 82nd. Couldn't you arrange for a Portland drop-off? And I mean, the story, it just kind of accentuates the point that even though we were only asking the donor to drive 17 more blocks from 82nd and Gleason to 99th and Gleason, in the donor's mind, there was a stone wall with a moat, and she couldn't cross over. The other reason that this is important is because it feels to people in East County as though they're an unwanted stepchild of people in Portland. And what we're after is to overcome that kind of thinking. We need to overcome the poverty in East County and the problems of East County. But to do that, we're going to need to have everybody's help in the county and in the region. And it is not helpful to us to have people turn their backs or to think of East County as an unwanted stepchild. Now, many people in East County, for very good reasons, are very proud of living in East County, including me. We live in East County for very good reasons. The local traditions there are very strong. The communities in East County are growing. Much of that growth feels very good. Businesses, new businesses are coming to East County. The school districts are very good. The traffic is not as bad as it is in Portland. The housing prices are lower, the neighborhoods are strong, and ethnic and cultural diversity makes the area stronger and a wonderful place to live. But going back to the question of what is the strain of the rapid growth? What is that strain in East County on the schools and social services? As you can imagine, the rapid growth in East County has caused a lot of strain. One of our volunteers was born in Gresham, and when she was born in Gresham, it was a town of less than 10,000 people. She is still our volunteer. Now, I grant you, she's 80 years old, but she now lives in Gresham with a population, as of tomorrow, will be 100,000. So that population has grown 90,000 people in just her lifetime. Whenever a lot of new people come into any neighborhood, there is strain. The people that were there first say, "Not in my backyard." One of the strengths of the growth in East County and the growth in Gresham has been the growth in diversity. Over the years, especially in the last 20 years, there's been a rapid growth from particular ethnic communities. Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and Vietnamese people came bringing their traditions and bringing their language. People from Mexico, Central and South America came with their traditions and languages. Then people from Eastern European countries came with their traditions, Czechoslovakia, Russia, Moldova, Romania, and other former Soviet bloc countries. Closer to home, as North Portland and Northeast Portland began to gentrify, low-income people that had lived in those areas were pushed out of their homes, and they came to East County. And most recently, we've had a large influx of people from Somalia and other war-torn countries in Africa who have come to East County. In East County, we value this cultural diversity, and we consider it one of our strengths. But for our school systems, it is hard to educate children who come to school from families who speak so many different languages. In some of our schools in the Reynolds School District, over 26 languages are spoken by the families that send their children to the Reynolds School District. Understandably, ESL is a priority. When so many children speak so many languages, it is a huge challenge for East County schools, but the schools have really risen to that challenge. In East County, there are 5 different school districts, not one like in Portland: Gresham, Barlow, Centennial, Reynolds, David Douglas, and Corbett. There are 5 different school districts. They bring together children who learn English easily, but the new language is not an easy language for their parents to learn. So the parents within the various schools in East County often cannot speak to each other because of language barriers. You can imagine what's translating the notes to send home after school is like when people speak 26 different languages. As we see so often in American communities, which are melting pots, groups oftentimes hold on to their cultural alliances. Many young people form gangs because they want to gain strength and they're disenfranchised from the greater community. When we see this phenomenon, either old time, like in movies like West Side Story, or new times, like in the streets of New York, we can often watch that phenomenon just right now on the streets of East County. But the Gresham police chief, a person in blue right over there, Carla Peluso, is here with us today and can attest to the problems of gangs in the East County area. But I think if you talk to Carla, she will also talk to you about the successes of the Police Action League and similar groups in reversing the effects of these gangs. Carla will be the first to tell you that what averts gang activity is safe and decent housing for people, good and relevant education, recreational opportunities that are open to everyone, and strong social services. While diversity of cultures is clearly a strength of East County, an increase in poverty is not a strength. The problem is clearly not race or racial diversity. The problem is poverty. The Regional Equity Access Atlas, and that's this booklet here, shows us that in Multnomah County, the percentage of people of color has increased markedly from 1990 to 2000. Let me quote from the Equity Atlas. While whites have become a smaller share of the region's population, African Americans remain about the same. However, Latinos have tripled in their absolute numbers and doubled in their percentage of the total population. Asians increased substantially, while Native Americans increased in number, but not in percentage. This same Regional Equity Atlas documents the movement of people of color to the East Multnomah County and to other areas. Now, what's clear is that what's causing poverty is racism, lack of education, and lack of opportunity. But the Equity Access documents that people of color, on the average, have lower incomes than the overall population. So in our area, with an increasing population of people of color, it means we have an increasing population of people with lower incomes and therefore a higher need for social services. While the income level for whites is about $48,000, the income level for Asians is about $41,000, the income level for African Americans at about $31,000, Latinos $35,000, and Native Americans $38,000. But stated in another way, it means that as the communities of color grow in the East County area, which they are, especially in the Rockwood area, the percentage of people in poverty, the percentage of people living in poverty is also increasing. Now, should you want to see the slides that make up this Equity Access, and each of these little maps in here is an individual slide, Human Solutions would welcome you to join us for another lunch, an almost free lunch, next Tuesday. Our lunch is next Tuesday at the Doubletree at Lloyd Center, and we will be presenting the Equity Access, and the Coalition for Livable Futures will be joining us there to look at that, and we would encourage you to come and see the actual slides of poverty moving to East County. But what we want to tell you is, along with poverty moving to East County, what has come to us is hunger and homelessness. And what has not come to us is a fair share of the resources. Metropolitan Family Services, one of the service agencies in East County, was looking at the distribution of children getting free and reduced lunch. In the year 2000, 10,188 Portland school children qualified for free and reduced lunch. In 2005, 21,000 children qualified for free and reduced lunch in Portland. That's a 108% increase. Now let's look at East County. In East County, in the year 2000, 4,243 children qualified for free and reduced lunch. By the year 2005, 22,771 children qualified for free and reduced lunch. That is an increase of 437%. That is the kind of growth in poverty that we are looking at in the East County area. Imagine school systems gearing up in the year 2000 for 4,000 children in poverty, and by the year 2005, they now have 22,000 children coming from households in poverty, and in 2008, that number is even greater. So what I would ask you to look at is the challenges facing East County. First of all, children living in poverty. That is probably our biggest challenge, and the challenge that we would encourage you to help us overcome. Second challenge, people are hungry. There's not enough food to eat for people. Parents don't bring in enough money to feed their children all month long. People are inadequately housed, and we're very pleased about the Gresham rental inspection program, but we still have a large number of families in apartment units designed for one family, 2 parents and 3 kids, that have 2 families in there, 4 parents and 8 or 10 kids. And while on a minor level, this may cause kids not to have enough space to do homework, it also has the potential for greater amounts of illness, greater amounts of abuse, and greater amounts of violence. So we look to you as the regional community to help us overcome these issues. We don't want parents to have to decide between paying the rent and buying food for their children. We need to have families earn enough money to be able to buy food, buy clothing, buy rent, and pay for the things that their families need. The result, in conclusion, the result is, for social service agencies, our strain is reflected in long lines. Our line at Human Solutions starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. People stand outside in 20-degree weather waiting to get energy assistance. We don't open till 8. So they stand outside in 20-degree weather because they have to get energy assistance. So longer lines, more people turned away because of inadequate funding, denials for service, greater level of hunger, greater level of homelessness, longer transits because people don't have cars. But the most important thing, the result of this, is despair and frustration. And what we need to do as a community is turn this around, because we don't need our young people in East County growing up with despair and desperation. We need to equalize the funding for the social services and ensure that East County gets its fair share. And I'm very pleased that Multnomah County, who's sitting right back there, has agreed to do that in their contracts for next year. We need to recognize the problems facing East County schools and ensure that Sun Schools and other programs come into East County in the same number as there are children living in poverty. And finally, we need East County residents to be able to get social services and get funding for social services that promote self-sufficiency, employment, and full economic development of the area. Thank you.
Thank you, panel. And Travis, nobody could ever say that was boring. Asking questions is a privilege of City Club members. Please limit your questions to 30 seconds or less and end it with a question mark instead of an exclamation point. Today's first question will be asked by City Club board host Julie Young. Julie is second vice president of the club. She's a social worker with a clinical experience in community mental health services, including working in the East County during the 90s. She also sits on the board of the Morrison Child and Family Services Agency, which has multiple service sites in East County. Julie joined the City Club in 2001.
I just wanted to thank the panel and also to mention that one of my favorite things to do in East County is to go to the Highland Games at Mount Hood Community College. And if you have never gone there and seen the tug-of-war, you have missed something. So my question to the panel is related to Mount Hood Community College, which celebrated its 40th anniversary a couple of years ago, at which time their then president remarked that the college's founders knew that Mount Hood Community College would play a major role in educating the community, but also in providing workforce to turn, that would attract industry and make way for economic development. So my question is, do you believe that businesses and government in East County is maximizing opportunities to partner with the college? And what opportunities are there that you believe have not been maximized?
I think Mount Hood Community College has been a tremendous asset to East County. And coming from the business perspective, we've seen some incredible interest in East County from an economic development because of the workforce that we're able to develop and build on that exists in East County. So we have some businesses that I know personally and specifically have located in East County because the college is there, and there's some partnership abilities and partnership opportunities that have existed to be able to bring that workforce to market. Some of the things that we can do better is to identify better what training that's needed in our community in those companies. That's something we have heard recently in a resounding way, that there are gaps in the education and training that exist not because of the ability, it's just the knowledge of those key areas that we need to be developing the workforce in. So we're working directly with Mount Hood Community College's president is on East Metro Economic Alliance board, working directly with that individual. Currently it's Gary Murph, who's the interim, and we work very closely with him to begin to put together the businesses and the college so that we can work towards a solution to meet some of those needs from a business economic development perspective.
From the social services perspective, Mount Hood Community College is a key player in getting people to have the education and training they need so they don't end up at $7.50 an hour minimum wage jobs and instead end up jobs at family wages where they can support their families. We send a lot of students to Mount Hood Community College. What they lack is access to scholarships. They are from very low income families, generally with no college at all, but the scholarship dollars for people to go back to school are limited, and more scholarship dollars would mean more people getting out of poverty and being able to support themselves. Mount Hood Community College is a key player in offering that education.
One of the things that we've tried to strengthen from the city's perspective is how to form the relationship between business and education and the city. We're all trying to do the same thing, and they are all so interrelated. And so we've tried very hard to, I think we're very good partners with Mount Hood Community College. They're a tremendous asset. They have almost 16,000 students, I believe, now is their enrollment figures. But the crossover between our city manager and the college president and the chamber president, they all sit on the same boards, and there's that constant communication and networking that goes on how to bring the workforce development issues to head. So it's a really good partnership.
Mike Burton, City Club member. Thank you all for being here. Mayor Bemis, you mentioned the fact that the effectiveness of putting your police officers on the TriMet line. Given the article in the Oregonian today, you may want to ask the sheriff to have him take away his deputies' cars and get them TriMet passes. It might be a more effective way of law enforcement. But seriously, the sheriff is one of the functions like TriMet that everybody shares in the cost of. Portland, Gresham, Fairview, Wood Village, everyone, Troutdale. Outside the jail function that the sheriff's office plays a role, and there's a police function, do you feel that those functions might be a duplication and the money might be better spent on local police forces rather than on a sheriff's police function?
Yeah, it's a good question, and let me say that I would much rather have our police officers patrolling a beat in our city, trying to prevent crime and communicating with our citizens. It's not an easy decision to make to spend your own resources to patrol something that somebody else should be patrolling. That said, we could not ignore any longer the resounding message that we kept hearing over and over and over from our citizens that were afraid to use the Max line and that we're not safe. We had a homicide at one of our platforms, we had a beating at another one, we had a stabbing at another one. The thing is, we own our piece of that. We know that there are changes in our community and there are issues that we have in our community that we need to deal with from a police standpoint. We own that. All we're saying is control the line, make it safe, let the mother that wants to take her children to the zoo by herself from Gresham, let her feel safe doing it. That's all we're saying.
John Leeper, City Club member. I'm a former Washington County Commissioner, and I think at times Washington County suffers the same plight as does East Multnomah County. With that in mind, I would suggest that there be increased interplay between East Multnomah County and Washington County to cross-fertilize a whole assortment of different ideas, both at the county as well as the city level, and that includes economic development. We out there have got a West Side Economic Alliance. Very active, very vibrant, and I would encourage all three of you to look at Washington County, how it is addressing many of the same problems that you're looking at as an area and as a jurisdiction like the city of Gresham. Because Washington County has got a couple of cities that have grown to over 80,000. They're growing by leaps and bounds, so sir, you and Gresham aren't very far ahead. We're not really actively seeking the population, but Washington County's population is growing at the rate of about 1,200 new citizens every month. So it's a statement of fact that we have got to look at things today and project into the future. Those are the thoughts that I think Washington County and its jurisdiction is actively pursuing.
I can make a statement to that just in regards to the cooperation that's occurring between East Metro Economic Alliance and the West Side Economic Alliance. The statement of working together is very much true on economic development, because John Sluther over at the West Side Economic Alliance has done a great job, and we are taking some cues from what they're doing. So that's excellent advice.
We've also begun working with the Washington County Community Action Agency and taken our lead from them on developing programs to get people out of poverty and involve business in getting people out of poverty. A particular program we've aligned with them is called Bridges to Housing, that has brought more than $1 million in new funding for housing for homeless families because of the partnership between Multnomah County, Washington County, Clackamas, and Clark County.
You're absolutely right. One of the advantages that I think we've had is that Washington County is going through, as you mentioned, some of the same exact growing pains as we are. And Chair Bryan and I have gotten together and tried to discuss how we approach this infrastructure funding and how we provide for this rapid expansion with limited resources, and how we might best parlay that at the state level and the federal level. So we've had those communications with Washington County, and it's good to see that there's somebody in the game with us. So.
My name is Christine Nutters. I'm a City Club member. I have a quantitative question. What is the average income of women in East County?
The average income of women in East County?
Yeah.
I don't know that. I could find that out, but I don't know that offhand.
Ideas? Ballpark? Nothing?
I don't think that I know that the average income of people in Gresham and East County is no different than the average income of people throughout Multnomah County. However, the level of poverty is much higher in East County. So my guess is, if you're asking about the level of single-parent households, yes, there are many more in East County, and the income is going to be about $15,000 a year or less for low-income households.
Nick Call, City Club member, and a Rockwood resident, and this is a question for Mayor Bemis. My community has, I think, been served poorly by the kind of antagonism between East County jurisdictions, Portland, and Multnomah County. And I'm wondering, as we look into the future, we're going to see a completely restructured county and probably a wholly new Portland City Council, and I'm wondering what substantive things, looking into the future, you think you can do as a new mayor in Gresham to try to put to rest some of these antagonisms that have actually really dramatically disadvantaged my community.
Well, I think one of the most important things any mayor can do or any elected official can do is to be able to build partnerships and friendships and business relationships with the other elected officials. We've been able to do that with Chair Wheeler, and it's as Jean has mentioned, how the resources have not followed to East County, that things are changing, and they understand that, and the chair understands that, and the county commission understands that, which hasn't always been the case. So that sort of education piece that a mayor needs to do sometimes with chairs and commissioners is the biggest role I can play as an advocacy or an advocate for your neighborhood. The other thing that we can do is start to deliver on the promises of the urban renewal plan. which was, community driven, and we're 6 years into it, and you're really going to start to see that neighborhood start to take shape from what the citizens want it to be. And that's what I'm most proud of about that urban renewal plan, is it was driven by the citizens, and the citizens decided what they wanted that community to look like. Now it's going to be up to your elected leadership to deliver on that vision, and we're getting really close. So I'm excited about where your neighborhood in particular is going.
Chris, we have time for one quick question.
Thank you. Chris Smith, City Club member. I noticed that by all the definitions I heard, East County starts well within the City of Portland. What should the City of Portland be doing differently from what it's doing now for the needs of East County?
Let me start, and then they'll I think the City of Portland needs to stop ignoring East County and ensure that in the distribution of resources, the people of that mid-county area from 82nd to about 162nd, all of that is Portland, and yet that area does not have an equal share of resources. It doesn't have sidewalks, it doesn't have paved streets, it doesn't have north-south transportation, only east-west. So I would say that the distribution of resources go heavily to downtown Portland, and they need to be redistributed to the area of East Portland and East Multnomah County, mid and East Multnomah County.
Allow Gresham to annex Portland into Gresham. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I second what Jean had to say about the focus on East County and East Portland, really working together with the City of Gresham, City of Fairview, and some of the key issues that come up, because a lot of times where those folks out in East County, what best correlates with them isn't so much what's west of 82nd, but it's what's east of 82nd. They really correlate with East County, and it's really working together, and Multnomah starting to work very closely with the four cities out in East County and that section of Portland that exists out there to be focused on an investment of dollars and focus and efforts. And they're going through a process right now, I believe, that's going to get a much better focus on East County. They're looking at an action plan for that area that exists basically west of 205 out to about 181st, 162nd area. So I know that they're already working on a plan to be able to address some of those key issues.
Again, I think it's about partnerships and relationships, Chris. If you bury your head in the sand in Gresham residents are very proud of their community and very proud of their independence. However, we need to make bridges to the other communities like Portland, and we've been trying to do that with their leadership, and I know that as the new leadership comes in, I'm confident that they recognize what an important part of the region Gresham and East Metro is. One of the things that we try to communicate and work closely on together is this issue of public safety, because on the east precinct for Portland is one of their busiest precincts. Obviously, our western part of our city is our busiest area, and the criminals don't know if they're in Portland or Gresham, and frankly, they don't really care. So how we can work closely together on the public safety stuff is huge for our city right now.
Mayor Bemis, Jean, Travis, we've all learned a lot today. Thank you for talking to City Club. We're adjourned.